Academic reports are much more structured than essays. They use headings, subheadings, sections, subsections that are formatted using bullet points or numbers. Report structures vary across different disciplines, across different modules, across different tutors. There are and can be specific requirements that tutors put when writing academic reports. In this video, we talk about common academic writing structures that can be applied across different disciplines. A standard academic report will contain all of these elements. I will go through each of them in this video. The title page needs to be informative and descriptive. This is where you put the title of the research or the report you're writing and any other relevant information on the title page. The abstract or the executive summary is a brief summary of the key elements within the report. The abstract of the executive summary is usually written after the entire report is done. Within the abstract or the executive summary, you're highlighting the key elements of the report, the methodology, the research objective or the report objective, and then identifying things like the key findings, but basically all of the key information that is within that report. I like to see the executive summary as the elevator pitch of an academic report. It gives you an opportunity to present all of the key points within the report you've written for the reader to see. And I like to see it this way, that the idea of an elevator pitch is that you basically get on the lift with, say, a financier for your business, a potential financier for your business, and within the entire journey of the lift or the elevator, you're able to pitch what your business is about and possibly get a response from the financier. And this is similar with an executive summary within an academic report, is that you're presenting your ideas within a very short summary, whether it's a page, depending on the length of the entire report, but provided enough information for the reader to see all of what that report is trying to say. And of course, if the reader needs to get any specific information or additional information on a specific area, they can go on to the next section, which is the table of contents, then presents clearly all of the key elements of the entire report. So readers will use your table of contents to identify which areas and which sections. So it's important to ensure that the sections are clearly numbered, that the pages are accurate, and so they can go straight to that page and they can find exactly what the table of contents says is in that page. The next thing in the academic report is to get on with starting the report, and you start off in this case by providing an introduction. And within this section, you're providing a background of the subject matter that you're providing or you're reporting. You're providing you're highlighting what the aim of the research is, what the objective of the research is. And within this introduction, you can also provide substantial literature, what is known within the subject area, what sort of literature you had a look at to provide information or background knowledge about the subject matter within the report or what the report is addressing. Within a business report, you have what we call a terms of reference, which highlights the scope of what the report is about. Similarly, within an academic document, the introduction will contain the scope of work, basically within the introduction section, highlighting what the research will actually cover. So it has that specific scope, and you intend that the report will maintain that scope of research. That also allows you to provide information about who the report is for, why the report has been written, and any potential limitations of the report. That takes us to the next section, which is the methodology. And of course, in this section, you're highlighting how data has been collected. You're highlighting how the research data has been analyzed. Have you collected data through a secondary research method or through a primary research method? And again, that could be informed by academic sources, bearing in mind that this is an academic report. So it's important that this methodology section provides accurate information as to how data was collected, the procedure of collecting data, and how the data was actually processed to get to the point where you're highlighting findings and discussing what those findings potentially mean. Your results or findings section allows you to present what the results of the research that you have conducted or the report you're presenting is about. It has to be very objective. It has to be clear. It has to, of course, follow the methodological process that you have mentioned in the previous section. Within this section, you can illustrate the findings using tables, graphs, charts, infographics, but basically, there has to be an objective way of presenting the data. It has to be clear, it has to be constructive, and for a report, it's important that you can use proper data while highlighting what your results or findings are. In this section, you don't need to worry about making sense, so to say, of what those results or findings are. You don't have to provide reasons why the results are the way they are in this section. That will be what you would do in the next section. And the next section is discussions. In your discussion section, you're then making sense out of the data and out of the results that you've identified or you've gotten from the previous section that you looked at, which was results and findings. So your discussion section is spending time making sense out of the research or out of the findings that you have. And at this point, you want to be critical about how you evaluate the findings and the results. You want to be objective in your critical analysis. And what you would expect at this point is that you can look into different other sources, look at different research that have been done within the subject area that you're looking at, then critically ascertain why your results might have been the way they are they different from other research or other reports that you've seen? How similar are they? Were there any potential differences in the methodology or in the group of people that you've collected data from? If you've used the secondary data, have you applied the same processes as other similar research within the subject matter? Or what could potentially have impacted the results that you have? And if it was done differently, will there potentially be a different result? Maybe. But that being said, after processing the results you have, what is the significance of that result to the aim of the research? So you're pointing out what the aim is again, and you're saying that at this point, with the findings and the results, your findings potentially have a significant impact, or generates some sort of outcome which has a significance on what you're trying to do within that report. And that takes us to the next section, conclusion or recommendations. Your conclusion should summarize the entire report, should summarize the key points within the report, and also make recommendations or suggestions for the reader or the audience or who you've written the report for. You may need to include specific recommendations or a list of recommendations in relation to what your report has identified. This could include doing a further research. This could also include taking an action or actually taking an inaction, depending on what the scope of the research was about, depending on what the research aim is. If you arrive at a clear-cut, direct answer, there might be need to say there could be additional research. There might be need to say action needs to be taken, but this is linked to what your research aim is or what the report aim is, and what the entire scope of the research was. And for being an academic report, your academic report will contain references. It will contain references within the document, within the report itself, but it will also contain or have a reference section. References is quite important to identify the sources you have consulted while doing that report, and specifically for an academic report, this has to be included to improve and increase the credibility and the quality of the academic report that you're writing. Do bear in mind that your reference section should contain a consistent referencing style, and this could have been prescribed by your university or your tutor, but remember that this is an academic report and should essentially apply or meet the academic writing requirements. An optional section that could be included, usually recommended to add to improve the discussions within the work, bearing in mind that some academic reports that are written within the university would mean that they also have a word limit. And there might be a lot more to include within the report or illustrate within the report. And having an appendices could help with you delivering or presenting a remarkable report. Within an academic report, your appendices could have headings that are alphabetical or numerical. So they could be Appendix A, or it could be Appendix 1, Appendix 2. So they could be titled or headed in any of those formats. The standards of writing an academic document generally would mean that you have to take into account structure, formatting, appeal of what the work looks like, the flow helps quite a lot with also designing and developing the content of your work. Of course, the content being specific to what you're trying to address is absolutely key, but the structure and the flow and the way you write, the academic writing style, does mean a lot to having your reader stay on to read the document and get value from the document. So you would most times try to take into account that your work is very coherent, that is clear, and we say it has to be reader friendly. People have to understand. People do not have to struggle when they read a document, irrespective of what the content is, irrespective of what the report or the essay is. So always designing your work to flow, always designing a good academic writing style would significantly help the document or to help people to read the document. Other things that you can take into account would be the presentation layout, the font style, the font size, and every other layout requirements, alignments that are required from the institution or the tutor that has asked for that report. But when you even write the personal document or personal report, it's important to take some of these formatting layouts into account to allow for a document that is coherent and easy to read. That is that for structuring and organizing your academic report. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was relevant. If it was, don't forget to like, don't forget to put a comment in the comment section below, and continue to show up.